This is a monthly call for those of you who are new to it. Our next call will be September 17th at 8 a.m. Pacific time. The basic of the call is to talk about different things regarding development with Microsoft Teams. We have different program managers and guests who will be joining the calls. So if you are ever interested in participating, you can definitely get in touch with us. We'll talk about the technical deep dives, and then we'll have time for Q&A on each call. Today's agenda, we have Nidhi Shandilya, I'm hoping I did not butcher your name, Senior Program Manager on App Templates, and Tom Morgan, who's a guest speaker as an MVP. So with that, I will let you take over the presenting and get started.
Wonderful. Thanks, Dana. Hi, everybody. My name is Nidhi Shandilya. I'm part of Teams Platform Engineering, and I'm a PM. My job is to help customers, partners, anybody and everybody who wants to take the Teams as a product and extend its usage to custom workflows or business scenarios. They should be able to do that seamlessly and easily. I'm working on a project called App Templates. We launched this initiative at Build a couple of months ago, and I remember I did a presentation of a month or two ago to the developer community call. So this time around, I just cover a quick overview, a refresher of App Templates, and show you all the new stuff that's come up since then. And then Tom, over to you for quick intros.
So hi there, my name is Tom Morgan. I'm a MVP in the Office App Services space, specifically Microsoft Teams, and I'm also a developer. And yeah, I work at Modality Systems, and I'm going to be showing you some things later about app templates.
Wonderful. So I'll quickly share my screen. Most of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about is going to be just demos. App templates, very quickly, are these production-ready apps for Microsoft Teams. They're community-driven. We've open-sourced these applications so that anybody and everybody can take them and derive instant value from them, or customize them, fork the code, and do additional development on top of it to make them even more feature-rich. The other benefit is, out of the box, these apps don't require any developmental effort to get started. They're just plug-and-play experiences. What that means is, from a deployment perspective, we've leveraged Azure ARM templates so that even hosting these apps on your instance of Azure is just a matter of few clicks, and then getting to a deployed version in Teams is also really seamless. These are the app templates that we have available today. Company Communicator is an app to broadcast messages to multiple teams or all users on Teams. FAQ Plus is a Q&A bot that brings a human in the loop when it's unable to help. And then there are a few others we can dive right in. So this page can be accessible via this public link called aka.ms Teams app templates, and you'll arrive at this page. I'll after this meeting, I'll share all of the things that I shared, including this link and then other items. So one of the templates, that were very early templates that we released, was called Icebreaker, and I'll give you a quick overview, and then Tom will cover how easy it is to change a quick feature and then extend the usage of the app template from there on. So Icebreaker, if I look at it, get it on GitHub. This is the entire source code of the application, along with detailed documentation guide, along with basic telemetry, how to access that, and then data stores, where's data moving, where is it stored, who has access to it, and things like that. Before I jump into Icebreaker's demo, just very quickly, the motivation behind this whole initiative, App Templates, is we've been working with our developer community for the last couple of years, one-on-one as well as through these calls. One of the things that we learned was, we were seeing patterns in terms of similar scenarios. For example, Company Communicator and FAQ Plus were kind of born out of this, seeing the same kind of demand. Other ideas are more coming out of things that we or issues that we solved our own problems internally within Microsoft Teams. And those solutions grew so viral and were so successful that we decided to open source them and make it available to everybody. So Icebreaker is one example of that. It was something that one of our developers cooked up over the course of a weekend. And then, as a team, we iterated on it. And now it's being used all over Microsoft. And that's the reason we open sourced it. And then, this is one of the app templates that's seen a lot of interest from customers as well. So very quickly, what happens is, you take the repo here, deploy the bot using the deployment guide, plain vanilla out of the box, install it to a team. Let's say I installed it in Contoso Young Leaders. Each organization, has their own kind of communities and micro communities. So as soon as you install the bot in the team, it sends a welcome message. And I don't know which, this is probably way up in here. But each time you install the bot in the team, it sends a welcome message telling people who it is and then what's the purpose of the bot. And then every Monday morning at 10 a.m., the bot will send a pair-up card to everybody in the team who's opted in. So let's say I get a pair-up card here saying, hey, it's time for match. You've been matched with this person, and then identifying which team the bot's installed in, just sort of build trust. And then I have multiple options here. I can chat with the person directly by click of a button, or this is the super cool part, I can propose meetup. And everything's pre-filled for me, title and the details. And the other cool thing is it also gives me suggestions on times that are available for both parties to catch up. And I can easily schedule meetups and then, be able to meet people outside my sphere of influence. One cool experiment we did with Icebreaker was deploy it at a company offsite. So there's something called the Microsoft Ready, where all thousands of employees from all over the world gather around in one place for learning and development for 5 days. We installed a custom version of Icebreaker, and we triggered the pair-ups not to trigger every week, but every day. And then that was like an instant hit. I wrote a blog post about it, and we'll share it after the call. But just deploying that deploying that custom version of the bot was super easy. Again, did not require writing a single line of code. But then again, there are multiple other things that can be done with this bot to extend its use. So I'll hand it over to Tom, who can show you how easy it is to tweak a small feature in an app template and make it even more powerful. So over to you, Tom.
Thanks very much, Nidhi. All right, so I'm going to pick up on this same page just so you guys don't get kind of too confused. So we've talked a little bit how cool Icebreaker is, but I just want to show you real quick how kind of easy it is to deploy and what you can do to make some changes once you have deployed it. So you've seen this already. This is Icebreaker. You've got to the GitHub repo. The GitHub repo is where you've got all the documentation. So specifically, go to the deployment guide. Now, you don't need to be a hardcore hardened developer to go through this. All the steps are here. You can just follow them. If you do all of that, you go all through. I want to point out something that you'll notice though as you go through, which is this screenshot here. Now, I'm not from Microsoft, I'm an MVP, so I can say this, right? So looking at this screenshot here, this pairing time zone, Pacific Standard Time, because that's where Microsoft lives, right? But that's not where I live. I live in GMT, the one true time zone. So I know I want to change this, right? So, but looking at this here, this is not a drop down, right? This is a text box. So I'm kind of a little bit scared to change that and put my own time zone in there because I'm probably going to get it wrong. So let's carry on anyway, and I'll show you how easy it is to change the time zone afterwards. So I can go through here, I can go through and deploy. I follow these steps. It's all nicely laid out. And when I do all of that, this is how it looks in my Azure tenant. So this is Icebreaker deployed. Now, this all gets done for me, and it's all nicely configured all for me. But if I want to make some changes, how do I understand how this all works and how it all ties together? Let me come back to here. You saw the deployment guide. I want to really quickly show you the architecture page. So this architecture page shows you how these are put together. Now I'm showing this to you for Icebreaker. This is the same for all of them. Okay, so there's a common thing you can go and look for in all the different places. You've got Icebreaker and then all the others. There'll be a deployment guide, there'll be an architecture, this solution overview. And I can look at this and kind of get a feel, even if I've never looked at any of the code, I know what Icebreaker does, but I can see how it's put together. So I can see that on the left here, there's this logic app which triggers the matches. Okay, so if I want to change the schedule, either by making it faster or slower, or changing the time it happens and the time zone and stuff like that, that's probably a good place I want to go and have a look. So looking at here, I can see all the different bits and I can see the logic app and I can go into that and have a look. Now, bear in mind, I didn't write this logic app. I might not even really understand what it does, but I can go click edit and have a look at it. And logic apps are great because you get a really good overview of what's happening visually. So I can look at this and see, oh, well, here's a recurrence thing, here's an HTTP thing. So it looks like there's a schedule, and when that schedule gets matched, it will hit the Icebreaker endpoint to get stuff done. So that's interesting, because what I could do is completely replace this recurrence thing with some other internal system that triggered off the Icebreaker. But actually what I want to do is change the schedule. You can see here the time zone. I can go down, I can change the time zone now to be the right time zone. I can change whatever I want. I don't have to have 10 o'clock. I can make 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. I've got a load of choices here. I haven't had to break open the code. I haven't had to recompile everything. I can just do this, click save. It will be completely done. So I want to show you a couple more things as well. I'm conscious of your time. If I come up to the top of the deployment guide, you've got the prereqs here. They're the things that you need to do in order to go through the deployment guide. There's also a video. So this is a blatant shameless plug. If you want to see more of me, that video is me going through the process of deploying Icebreaker. Okay, so if that's useful and you just want to see how easy it is and see someone else doing it, that's the link to follow. There's also a video of changing the thing I just showed you actually around the logic designer, which is on this taking it further section. So the taking it further section is an interesting place to go and see changes you could make to Icebreaker and extend it out a little bit if you want to take it more than just the thing out of the box. So there's a video there about the thing I just showed you actually, that you can either take or share with others who aren't in this meeting. And then there's also some other ideas as well. So that's changing Icebreaker, and that's just one of the many different app templates. I'm going to throw back to Nidhi, who's going to show you some more kind of cool templates we've got, or they've got as well.
Thanks, Tom. That was fantastic. So Tom's correct. 10 a.m. Pacific is very narcissistic of us, but really some of the things that we've learned as people have used this app is yes, time zone is super important. What Tom showed you is you can change time zones according to one time zone for all the team's attendees. One other thing that came up was, hey, if you have a global diversified team across time zones, then you'd have to pick a time, include logic in the app that sends pair ups to people according to their time zone. That would be another way you could extend it. And a few other interesting ones that I've heard is people really like it for matching up mentors and mentees, or group A versus group B. That's another interesting way of making sure people are able to meet with. It's not completely random. It's still random, but then focused random, like mentors meeting with mentees, for example. So with that, that's one example of what these app templates are. We have in total about 5 of these today, with more coming every month or so. I would take the rest of the time to walk you through 2 others: Company Communicator, Fact Plus, actually one more, List Search, and then feel free to pepper in with your questions as they come. Dana, if you're monitoring the chat thread, feel free to stop me, and then we'll take questions as we go along.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Awesome. So FAQ Plus, FA, Frequently Asked Questions acronym. FAQ Plus and Company Communicator are the 2 new ones, hot off the press. We launched them last week. They're very new. These ones are things that we heard loud and clear from our community, and then we went ahead and built them. So we're very excited about it. Let me give you a quick overview of FAQ Plus. The reason we built this one is like people across everyone's building chatbots these days, but often the early attempts at chatbots they aren't very successful. One of the key reasons is that when the bot fails, it's really hard for the developer to know why did the bot fail. You could go look at the telemetry, see where people failed, but that real-time feedback loop, it just isn't available. So what this FAQ Plus template does is it gives you a simple Q&A interface out of the box. But then if the bot fails or if the user still needs more help, they can directly connect with an expert. So here I am sharing my screen. This is the bot. Let's see if I've populated the knowledge base with Teams frequently asked questions. So I can ask questions about regular features of Teams. So let's say I ask the bot, how do I create a private channel? So the bot will go and look up in the database, in the Q&A maker knowledge base that was set up. Again, that setting those things up are really simple, and then hopefully throw up a result. Looks like my bot is facing issues, but I asked the same question previously. How do I create a team? It throws back from an answer from the knowledge base. I can easily, let's say if this was good, but I wanted to know, hey, how do I create like private channels? Or team creation may vary from organization to organization. I know some organizations don't make it open for all users. So I want to actually ask an expert. And when you ask an expert, it throws in a form field, and I can type any title, private team creation. A couple of things you'll notice, it pre-fills the question the user asked. So we're lessening the number of amount of typing the user has to do. They can add more context to it if they so choose to, and then very quickly ask an expert. The bot will share real-time notifications. It'll say that, hey, I've shared it with expert. They'll respond to you directly with some metadata containing status, title description, and then date created. Let's see what's happening behind the scenes. So this is the SME team. Well, we were dogfooding it before release. I'm just using this for demo purposes, but this could be any SME team. If you're deploying it for in HR application, this could be HR specialists. Or if it's like field support, this could be the field support team. So the bot sends a notification here. All the team members, all the members who are part of this team will have access to this bot and notifications and be able to interact with it. So like any new team member joins, nothing more to do for them. I see this notification. I can easily click, chat with the person. In this case, I of course cannot chat with me. If I chat with another person, look at this cool thing that it pre-fills the title already in the chat box. So I don't have to like come up with the context, hey, Sohail, regarding your ticket for blah, it gives that context already. These are kind of like minor design-oriented things that we've incorporated in this template, but stuff that anybody and everybody can leverage for other things as well. So I can chat with the person, provide them support instantaneously. What it also does is it gives me the article that the bot responded with. So here as well. So you know, like, where did the bot fail? What was the question that the user asked the bot first? And then what was the bot's response? Just so you can go back and then tweak things in the knowledge base to make it even more powerful. But when you have a request coming in, you want to help the person there and then. So easily, you know, let's say I chatted with the person and then I helped them. If it was instantaneously, I can just go ahead and close it. And then here's the cool part. What the bot now does is it creates an audit trail. It mentions at this time the request was closed and it was closed by this person. So anybody who goes and changes the status, there's an audit trail maintained, and then the final status is displayed here. So let's say my request wasn't really closed, like this person reached out and said, hey, my issue is still not resolved. I can go ahead and like reopen and assign it to myself. And again, same audit trail is maintained and the status is there. Simultaneously, the user is also getting apprised. I don't have to do anything extra to, see or know what's the status of my request. It's anytime the status changes, it asks me, it gives me notifications. And then if the ticket is closed, it gives people, a way, even if their issue is not closed, they can still ask an expert again. So just being more user-friendly from that perspective. Along with that, this template also comes with a messaging extension. As you can see, if there are thousands of requests coming in, it can be hard for team members to keep track of everything. So what happens is, let's say I bring up the messaging extension. There are 3 tabs here. There's a tab for recent, opened requests or tickets, or unassigned one. This one is the one I care more about, so that, in zero inbox kind of philosophy, I would want to, as a team manager, I'd want to strive for 0 unassigned tab. And then assigned ones to make sure, like, okay, how long are things in this poll? I can easily search for tickets as well. And then when I click on a ticket or request, it posts a card in the channel. Like, I can use this to inquire about status, what's happening here, team. And then if I share it in the team, I can quickly get, just send a one-way notification. People can respond. What I can also do is go to the original thread. So this card is just a snapshot in time at 8:23 a.m. of this ticket. The source of record belongs in the original post. So that way, all of the communication regarding a particular request can be maintained in one place. So, if you're doing team retrospectives or things like that, you have replies and everything all in one place. You can use it for training purposes. Any new team member that joins has all of this amazing context about how to get up to speed really soon, being able to come up with, okay, these are the common things that people ask, and then this is how things get resolved. So it brings all of the awesomeness of teams in a really easy manner. So that's an overview of FAC Plus. I just want to monitor if there are any questions.
There's a few questions. One is, can I use the details of Delve and make use of it as icebreaker logic?
Interesting. So is the question that if people put in their profile certain tags, and then Icebreaker could use those tags, and then let's say I want to be paired up just with people who know JavaScript or Python, and so I can just focus on those kind of pair ups. Is that the question?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think that's totally doable. Delve does leverage graph APIs, and those are the metadata that are exposed. So that's a fantastic use case to extend the usability of Icebreaker towards those scenarios.
Great. Okay. And then Ricky asks, does the question have to exactly match the data in knowledge base, or is it smart enough to match the question based on keywords?
Oh, totally. So in the Fact Plus, I can easily put in, I don't have to type full sentences. This is based on all of the goodness of Q&A Maker, Lewis, and Microsoft's AI chops. So I can even just type in keywords, private channels, and it will, hopefully, it would return things that match here. So I think my database doesn't have something real. My knowledge base doesn't contain anything with regards to private channels, but it does have private messages and things like that. So it doesn't have to be full sentences. But that, it goes both ways. You can type in keywords or full sentences. It leverages the Lewis model framework.
Great. Okay. And how do you enable multi-turn questions to work in Teams?
That part I frankly, I don't know how exactly that would work if you enable it, because when you're setting up a knowledge base in Q&A Maker, and I'm just pulling that up, you can, while you're doing that, there's a checkbox that says enable multi-turn. I don't think if you check that box, the bot will actually respond back with saying, did you mean X? Or let's say, I think and that one's one of the more recently launched features of Q&A Maker. So why that launched while we were building this out. So we were farther along in the process that we did not, actively incorporated in this version. We may think about it in like V2 of Fact Plus. But currently, I don't think multi-turn is supported with Fact Plus. That would be a fantastic, way to extend this app template into those domains.
Okay, great. And how can I see all facts assigned to me?
Oh, yeah. Again, I think that would be a great way to extend this app template. This is one view for all users, assigned and then maybe sifting through. The other one could be I could search for Jethro, and then it would give me all tickets that match these keywords. One scenario could be that if your name's really common, like James, Jim, George, if those keywords are contained in other fields, you may come up with less relevant entries. But that's one way to see all tickets assigned to me. Maybe as an extension of this app template, you could have a third tab as assigned to me, or just build it into the logic so that when I click assigned, it rank orders assigned to me first and then assigned to others.
Okay, great. And can we link records from SharePoint to this type of bot? For example, can it be used to audit information in a list and to report missing information or request additional information? And it looks like Tom responded, yeah, you can, but also check out the list search as well.
Yeah, Tom, good point. I'll give you a quick overview of list search as well. I think it's good timing there, and we'll come back to Fact Plus. It looks like it's very popular. So list search is another app template that we have available. What it does is SharePoint lists are pervasive. Everybody uses SharePoint lists, but SharePoint lists aren't very accessible from mobile if you're on the go. It takes a lot of pain to favorites or wherever. Go find your list first and then navigate to an individual record in the list and then copy paste the data, paste it in the chat window and collaborate around it. all of that takes a lot of time, and then people often just things fall through cracks. So what list search does is, you don't have to go anywhere to bring data from within a particular list. You can just bring that up. It's as easy as basically sharing emojis with your team. I already have a list. I already have this app template configured for my team, and it's a messaging extension. It's posted to my Compose box. I open it up. I select the team, select the list that I want to query. Let's say, every company has acronyms. My company has, acronyms too. And someone was saying, hey, you should reach out to the CSA of this team and they should do that. And I'm stuck at what does CSA even mean? I can quickly bring that data up and share it within the chat conversation with my colleague and then paste it in. There's a button where you can actually go and navigate to the individual SharePoint list item. So this is the list that I have for test purposes already populated. And for list search template, you're not restricted to just these 2 columns. You can have up to 5 additional items within this list, within the card. So you can have a title, text, and additional metadata for it. So like think about bug tracking or any kind of list. Lightweight CRM is another useful, or directory lookups that you can easily bring up here. So to answer your earlier question, if you have a list and you want to make sure as a team you're staying on top of accuracy and making sure things are up to date, you can quickly collaborate with your team by bringing up items from the list and sharing it within the team.
Great. Another question going back to the FAQ, can the FAQ bot crawl any article and not just fed with the predefined questions and answers?
So, the way FactBot works is anything that is stored in the knowledge base is what the bot will return. So what you could do is add more things to your knowledge base. Q&A Maker does not restrict you to, one knowledge base. So you can pick one, let's say you created a knowledge base, you can add multiple sources of knowledge bases to it. And I'm trying to bring up the one that I created. Like, for example, this one, just while testing, I went ahead and I just pasted any publicly available URL, which is travel.state. It's about like US passports, how to apply for one and all of that. All I did was just copy paste this URL in Q&A Maker, and it all sorted question and answer pairs, and I had to do minimal tweaks. What I can also do is add more questions to it or add more URLs to it. So let's say I crawled, what Q&A Maker did here was crawl this website and pre-populate Q&A pairs. I can add more sources to it. So let's say if I have a SharePoint intranet page completely set up with all of my question and answer pairs, I can point it to here, and then it'll do the heavy lifting of extracting. So anything that's publicly available URL or semi-formatted Word documents, Excel files, CSV files is stuff that works with Q&A Maker.
Great. Let's see, there was one more comment, just without support, going back to the multi-turn in Teams, just as without support for multi-turn in Teams, we cannot proceed with this as a tool for us. So just something to note. And then
that's great feedback. We'll see if we can bring it in. But if anyone wants to submit a request, these are community-driven app templates, so anybody and everybody can submit. Create a quick feature update and put it forth. But I'll note that down for our backlog.
And Nidhi, where do you want those feature requests to go?
So here is. So here is where, like, you have the issues tab where you can raise issues.
Sure, in GitHub.
Yeah, so like go to the
Okay.
go to the repo and then like submit a request for, or just contact us to submit you know, a new pull request.
Okay, and so we'll include this link also in the blog post with all the other resource links that they're
Mhm.
talking about today. So
Yes.
we'll get that out there so you guys don't have to try to write it down or have me type it in.
Yeah.
Okay, another question is, are there Visual Studio templates to create these Teams apps, or are there just these sample apps? And are the apps you're showing in .NET Core or in .NET Framework?
These, I would say, are just like open sourced apps. I don't think they integrate, like there's a tight coupling with Visual Studio. You can use Visual Studio to go develop on these, but they're not necessarily Visual Studio templates. And then these are created, I think these are created in, I want to say C Sharp, but I'm not super sure. But all of it is open sourced here, so you can take a look and you know, figure out if that works for your needs or not.
Okay, great. And then Q&A maker question.
Well, if that just means this is based off of Q&A Maker, then Brooke, you're absolutely right. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel while making a bot. So we're like, hey, people are familiar with Q&A Maker. We should add the Teams magic to this template. So the starting point for this template is you've gone to Q&A Maker and you've created a knowledge base. All we need is the knowledge base ID from the template, and we're off to the races from then on.
Okay, great. And then another question, given the fact that this uses Azure AI, is there any additional costs when it comes to pricing?
Very good question. So this was one feedback we were receiving. You know, we heard people say, hey, yeah, how much do these things cost? From our perspective, this is totally free. The reason we built it out is, you know, to give people a 90% solution so you could have everything at your tips. But of course, since you're hosting these applications on your instance of Azure, they would incur Azure costs. And I think from right after Icebreaker, all templates now include a cost estimate. So for example, FAC Plus, there's this link for cost estimate. It's hard to estimate cost for all variety of use cases. So what we did was we took some basic assumptions and we gave a sample costs. So let's say if you have 500 users, each user sends one question per week, and this SME team goes through the entire life cycle of the ticket using the standard SKUs that are available in Azure, it would be about like $159 a month. But bear in mind, most organizations have their own negotiated pricing. Some have free credits as well. I think Azure does offer a free trial and free credits. So this does not factor into that. The actual costs may be less than or more than the pricing there. But here's the link to the pricing calculator. You can put in your own values and your own you know, estimations and get an accurate estimate. And if there's still questions, we can totally connect you with folks in Azure as well.
Okay, great. And then let's see, Tom did post a cost estimate page for the FAC Plus, so that's in the
Awesome,
window, chat window. And then another comment, if you want proper templates, scaffolding of projects instead of cloning a GitHub repo, you can check out the Teams Yeoman generator.
Yeah, it's a good solution.
Yeah, thanks, Victor. And then Alexander said, interesting. However, it only works if you're developing in Node.js.
Awesome. It looks like we've gone through all of the questions. I'm very happy at the engagement. I love all of the feedback and conversation so far. Keep it coming. Next, I want to show you the other template that we launched this week. This one I haven't deployed the final version of it, so there may be some. This is an older build. There are just minor changes in the actual template, but I'll show you nonetheless what this one looks like. So one thing that we heard from customers, developers, partners was, hey, Teams is awesome for communicating within Teams, but what if I want, what if I'm head of a store and, I have multiple retail stores and I want to be able to blast communication out to these people. Oftentimes, my employees or my users are on the go, they're on mobile, they might not even have access to apps such as Outlook and others. How can I reach them, as easily as sending a chat message to them? That's one of the reasons why we built this app template out. Number two was communication needs are very custom. So this is such a popular feature that it may come in natively as part of the product, being able to broadcast announcements or targeted messages. But we open source this template out just so you can build your own custom variations on top of it. So let's say if your organization, you're Nike or someone, who has a very strong affinity for brand, and you want your communication tool to be called, something very custom, and you wanted to pin it on the left rail, you should be able to do all of those things. So for that reason, we open sourced this app template as well. So let's say I'm a corporate communications team. This is where I collaborate, and then let's say I'm sending a communication out to all employees or multiple teams. There's a tab which is role-based access, so only people who have access to creating these org-wide messages can go here and create messages. I can click on a new post, and then very easily I fill out a bunch of things, and for brevity's sake, I'll just duplicate something I did earlier. Let's say I created this communication. I want everybody to know, hey, all app templates for Teams are now available. I can enter a short title, and as I type here, I can see a preview of what's happening, how the message is going to render. If I have an image link, I paste it here, and it renders it here. I can paste a summary, and then I can specify author. So often, if the CEO is sending a message, the CEO himself or herself wouldn't necessarily create and tweak all of the copy. So you can easily send messages on behalf of people or teams. And then there's a call to action button. This is such a versatile tool that you can point it to anything. So in this case, the button's called Learn More, and it'll redirect to the app templates page, which is aka.ms that I shared earlier. And I click next. I have three options to send it. One is send to multiple teams. So I can select my teams and send it like that. Or I can send to team members of that team. The reason for this is, let's say if all of my users are mobile and always on the go, conversations in Teams can sometimes get noisy. And if you want to make sure that everybody has read the communication, then it might make sense to pick that option. And then number three is to send it to all users. So if that's something like a safety message or things like that, you want everybody to receive those in chat message and not miss them in general posts. So let's say I select the team. This would show up as a team message. And then I can go and send it. It just gives me a notification here. And then very soon, the general channel should receive the actual message. So what would also, this is how it would post as a app notification within the general channel. If you were to send it as a chat message, it would show up in people's chat window, and it would again, the message would be the same thing, but it would just the way the delivery mechanism of this message varies. A couple other things to note with this app template, we do provide basic telemetry on messages. So let's say I sent this message. You can view how many people it was sent to at what time. In future, we may also have additional telemetry in here around, hey, how many people interacted with the message, or take it further, how many people actually, you could have a button by saying contact sender. So if I want to be able to see or receive reactions from people, I think this would be the place to do that. Again, this template is available on our app templates page, and cost estimates, everything just like Tom and I described earlier, everything is available right here. Cost estimates, deployment guide. There are some known limitations with this app template. Currently, it can send 8,000 messages every 30 minutes. Let's say if you're an organization of like hundreds of thousands of users, of course, the base version, you'll get throttled, but we do whitelist apps if they do have a need to send more messages. This is more for, reliability and those sort of perspectives. We're taking a more conservative approach here, but you can easily bump up this limit manyfold by getting whitelisted, and this is the way to request getting whitelisted. Taking it further, again, few options, stuff that we've heard from folks that they'd like to see in it. And then, of course, I'm sure there are many other ideas to take it further. So that's that. I'll pause and see if there are questions. If app dev is going down the same path as SPFX, then other JavaScript packages could be leveraged. Depends. I don't understand. Is that a question? It looks like it's in response to.
Yep, it looks like it's in response to the above.
Okay. So Lou asks, regarding company communicator, is there a way to programmatically accomplish the same thing over graph, blasting a message out to a security group, for example? Baked into product outside, I do the same thing coming soon. We'll have the waiting room. Yes. So there is something, these two things were happening concurrently. So we kept it separate so that we're not dependent on graph APIs. But the good news is that those graph APIs are now available. So you can accomplish two things. First is pre-install. So you can pre-install a company communicator for all of your users. They don't have to go to the App Store and install it. That is necessary so that the bot can proactively send messages to all users. And it's a simple PowerShell script. I'll share it after the call that you can run. So it's a slightly manual effort, but that's totally doable. You can pre-install this app and make it available to all users so that you can send out a blast to everybody.
Okay, great. And then another question, can I have multiple communicators published, each one for a different team, so each team can send notification to relevant audience about outages, for instance?
Exactly. So you can have multiple instances of this bot. Let's say, typically in organizations, different teams have different needs and they don't necessarily, aren't necessarily centralized. So let's say corporate communications has a team that sends messages on behalf of like all hands meetings, CEO notes and such and such. The IT team may want to send communications out to, hey, this new product is rolling, do this, do that. And IT and corp comms are totally different teams, and it's unfair to necessitate for them to use one bot to do this. So you can totally deploy two different instances for these needs, as long as within your organization, from a role and access perspective, you're clear. You can totally have two different instances for it.
Okay, great. And then I maybe missed it, but if you can send a message to all users, are they getting it in Teams?
Correct. So it would show up as a chat message from the bot. Teams is where they will receive the message.
Perfect. Anyone else? Any questions? Or Nidhi, do you have anything else you want to show?
I think from a showing perspective, I think I showed you all the interesting stuff. There are I think one additional template that I didn't go deep into, but you can check it out later. What I would love to hear would be feedback and template ideas that you would want to see. There is a feedback link here. If you have an idea for an app template you'd like to see, just submit it here. Let us know, or even just paste it in as a chat message. Any idea that you'd like us to work on, or you've seen to be cool. That's one thing. Number two is, since the participation is so high in this call, I was curious about one particular topic, and I would love for you to weigh in on that. I am considering doing something with regards to HuBot or Poshbot, where you can just write small scripts and you have a bot starter template. Does any of you use HuBot or Poshbot on Teams? If yes, would love any and all kind of context as to how you use it. Is it meeting your needs? And then what would you like to see there? I want to make sure that if we invest in that area, there is a sufficient or critical demand for it. So I'll leave that out as let me know here from the chat message or through other communications channels. But that's something that I'm curious about.
Okay. And then while we're waiting to see if there's a response for that, there was another question that says, what is the process for getting the 8,030 minimum limit lifted?
Okay, that's an easy one. So company communicator, you go to known limitations, and then you can raise a request here. It is just a form. You fill out a form, and then we'll get you sorted rather quickly.
Okay, that was great. Is all users message only to members in your tenant?
Yeah, so I think, Paul, maybe your question is if there are guest users or other kinds of users, would the message be delivered? I think for all members in the tenant, absolutely yes, the message will go in. For guest users, let me come back to you on that. I'm not 100% sure. I think it would reach the guest users, but there's we'd have to figure out how the UPNs will get resolved to actual principal names. So I'll get back on that.
Okay, and so maybe we can find that answer and we can add it into the blog post summary so that everyone will have that answer too.
That's awesome.
Okay, sounds great. Any other questions, feedback? Oh, follow-up would be how to exclude guests.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Got it.
That's a good
okay.
question.
Thank you for clarifying. So informative. Thank you. This is great.
Thank
I
you,
know.
everybody. Thank you, Tom, for joining us. Tom's really fantastic. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you guys so much. And again, we'll follow up with the blog post summary and the recording within 24 to 48 hours after the call. And then we'll have links to resources as well as communication avenues to the Microsoft Teams team. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Great call. Great questions.